Good evening, Mr. Tack. Are you able to see the agenda?
I can see it, Mr. Cleaver.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tack. Okay, if we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
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 allegiance
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Tack, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending tonight's meeting. The first thing I'd like to touch upon there is how the Lehighton Area School District has dealt and is dealing with the COVID-19 academically wise. And I'll start with the elementary section. We were able to offer 3 different modes of education at the elementary center during this past pandemic year. The 3 modes of learning we had were in person 5 days per week. We had LAVA being supported by elementary teachers, or we had Swivel with the synchronous learning by a classroom teacher, grades K through 5. Most students took advantage of coming into school the 5 days per week, which we were very fortunate for, and one of the few districts that did that. We focused on socially distancing of 6 feet in each classroom and in the cafeteria. Students were permitted to take mask breaks up to 10 minutes if they were socially distanced, and staff were not to stay in a stagnant area for more than 10 minutes. We also had more LAVA students at the elementary center than ever before, which we understood. That was supported by 3 elementary teachers, which they did full time. Some LAVA students then left the program to return to school after students and parents had some struggles with the online learning. And it wasn't necessarily the platform, but rather the actual coaches and students not being familiar with online learning itself or having parents at home to help them when it was needed. There were also some kids who came back into school throughout the year from the LAVA program. The swivel equipment that was purchased for each grade level, and we had 1 teacher per grade level that hosted a synchronous learning model where the actual classroom was being shared at home. Kids zoomed in each day following the regular daily schedules of classroom teachers. And in order to support the encore classes, teachers then utilized Canvas and Seesaw in order for the students to have assignments in those areas. The swivel equipment remained in the classroom and didn't follow students. Most swivel students who came back into the school were placed back then in that specific homeroom, depending on the number of people that were in the classroom. So we've enjoyed classrooms of 20 students or less for most of the school year. And again, we were thrilled that most of the students were able to come in, and we were actually, like I said, one of the few districts that did do that. And again, the teachers, I have to commend them for the great job that they did, the administrators as well. And also the teachers remained in communication with students, both in school, out of school, and parents. And I know it was a very trying day. And, on today being Teacher Appreciation Day, where we honored all our teachers, we're just very fortunate and thankful that they were able to do that. And I know most parents were very appreciative of the fact that the board was able to help as well in keeping the elementary center open 5 days a week. So that is our elementary. I'll let, if Mr. Sevlin has any further comments on that, feel free to join in. Mr. Sevlin,
Yeah,
okay.
Mr. Tack, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tack. I mean, you shared the information that, we gathered at the elementary center as we were dealing with COVID. But yeah, I wanted to commend our teaching staff, paraprofessionals, the lunchroom staff, our custodians, all our secretaries, all across the board, because it took everybody to really, make this year work. And it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I do appreciate all of our teachers, and I do think that we have top-notch staff across the K to 12. I'm very partial, of course, to our elementary staff. I feel they're the hardest working staff in the district every day. But again, I'm partial to them. And I want to publicly thank the board for really supporting our 5 days a week in person. I mean, over the course of the year, especially in the beginning of the year, I mean, I got calls from, Father Campion down at Sacred Heart Parochial School, and administrators from Northern Lehigh, Palmerton, Jim Thorpe, and just asking, how we're able to make it work. And, my first thing was always, we have a supportive board that, really made it a focus that we were going to try to keep our kids in school. And for the elementary center, at least, I mean, we've really done I felt we've done a very good job, again, with our students and staff and parents of following the health and safety protocol, and, really making it so that we never had to shut down. Our numbers, were going up and down throughout the course of the year, but I will also give kudos to Mrs. Melissa Haight, our pandemic coordinator for the district, who really, kept track of things and gave a lot of support and data and information to parents, teachers, myself. So I'm just very grateful. I'm looking here at the calendar, and it's Cinco de Mayo. It's May 5th. And we can say that, we have been in school all year when just about everybody else across the state has not. So thank you, Mr. Tack, for letting me have the opportunity to speak and for sharing the information at the elementary center. And again, thank you to our teachers, our staff in our elementary center and across our district. And thank you very much to the board for supporting our in-school learning.
Thank you, Mr. Seblin. And I do want to echo, and also kudos. I know he had mentioned Mrs. Haight, the elementary nurse there at the center, but also Mrs. Callie Andrews and Mrs. Lebian, who had retired, and Mrs. Gurman and Mrs. Blasiak, and also Mrs. Karpowicz, who they've all helped with our program and our plan, keeping that up to date, on a weekly and monthly basis. And I know it was very trying at times with trying to pick, with kids and the protocols to follow with quarantine, not having to be quarantined and so forth. But again, I do want to thank all of them. They worked way above and beyond and did all kind of things that were within the boundaries and so forth to keep us functioning. And as Mr. Seblin said, keep us open so that we could continue to do that with all of our students at the elementary. Okay, next, I would like to go on to the middle school level, and then we'll come back if there's any.
Mr.
Yes.
Tack, before you move forward, I'd also like to say thank you to the staff. I think it was great that we were open-minded enough to allow the schools to be open during this period. I do think it was a commitment on the entire community to recognize that in-person learning is the best that we can provide, and for those that wish to go down that path. And the fact that we were so open with all the different choices that people could make, I think was a benefit to the community. I couldn't not thank the entire staff, but I also got a question, why are we still doing virtual meetings? So that kind of is a disappointing to the board as a whole, but thank you, staff, and thank you to the community of Lehighton for accepting the responsibility to take care of their kids and put them in school. Thanks.
Thank you. The next level, the middle school level, there again, we had LAVA for our students in grades 6, 7, and 8, which were virtual. We had Zoom for students in grades 6, 7, and 8. But once again, as we have stated, and Mr. Bradley stated, and the whole board, and it was a whole board effort, we had our middle school open every single day for all students grades 6, 7, and 8. So we were extremely flexible with students going between Zoom, LAVA, and in person. Each situation was unique and was handled on a case-by-case basis. And again, kudos to all the staff that was, went way beyond being flexible, working with kids and parents, but that was the bottom line, especially during these trying times. Lunches were handled with staggered times to allow for cleaning before the next lunch, to making sure that all hallway traffic was one way, allowed for proper social distancing. Again, we made sure we were following 6 feet at all time. The students were also seated 6 feet apart and are facing the same direction at lunch. And when they were in lunch, again, they were the 6 feet apart. I know a couple times I ran up to the middle school, and again, the kids that were there had a great time, and the majority of them were. And I understand, other students that didn't. That was their they're right in everything else, and especially in these times that we had. We also worked with the buses with Mr. George and that for arrival and departures that were staggered to help us again with the crowded hallways. And also dismissal was done in a manner to keep movement in the hallways going in the same direction. So a lot of work and preparation went into that. And I know with the Zooming, the teams worked very well with that. Again, what was nice about that, if kids were home and they decided then as things lightened up and restrictions were eased, wanted to come back into the classroom, it was nice they were able to go right back into that classroom or team that they had that teacher for the whole year. So again, we want to thank everybody. And like I said, I know it sounds probably like a broken record, but we were one of the very few schools in the entire state that had K-8 open every day, and that parents and students could make that choice. And again, then with the flexibility, trying to go through in that fashion. Again, Dr. McGullough, if you have anything to add with that for the middle school, please feel free to add so. Dr. McGullough, are you there?
Tim, it looks like he was here, and I don't know if he hit the.
Okay.
No, so we can move on to the high school.
Okay. And then our last level at the high school, there we had many different options. And again, kudos to the administrators and teachers and all the staff, secretary, everybody. I know, but the high school really had some trying times with the hybrid option because of distancing. So we had that in place from September to Tuesday, April 6th. And again, thank you with the board for allowing us then to go into a full in-person session. Once again, as restrictions were relaxed. The in-person instruction began on Tuesday. They returned a full day of learning. And again, I know students were excited to get back in every day, as well as parents and as well as the staff to have them in the building. Our in-school hybrid option allowed us to maintain 6 feet of distancing between students. We had 20 students in a classroom. Students attended school every other day. And while at home, they were expected to log on and attend live Zoom instruction following their normal daily schedule. And then they completed work through our Canvas, which is our learning management system. With Lava, again, that's our virtual academy. Our virtual academy will be offered as a choice for families, again, as they consider their needs for the fall. Our virtual academy is for families who want their children to learn from home and want a little less structured approach to their children's day. That's provided in the remote option, and yet they'll still be assigned to a Lehighton Area School District teacher, and was responsible for grading and case management. So again, there was very flexible. We had some that were doing in person, also had students in Lava, and then we even had some that were dealing with Canvas, which again was our learning management system, which a lot of colleges and universities use. So it was also preparing them for future use down the road. Students were placed in our courses. Our teachers have been proctoring through Canvas asynchronously, and they can attend Zoom sessions if desired. So again, they have really been very flexible. I commend them for that flexibility in working with the students and the parents. And when they do that, they have until the end of the day to complete their work. And then we have assignments that are due by 11:59 p.m. So again, high school was a little bit different with all the individualized courses, different content areas, trying to get with the credits, making sure kids are still passing and being eligible for graduation or moving up to the next grade level. And again, like I said, they had a multitude of options. And I think sometimes it was very trying for the teachers just to maintain some sanity with who was in Lava, who was Zooming, who was back in school, who was out of school, and so forth. So kudos to all of them. And Mrs. Holland or Mr. Brown, would you have anything to add for that as well?
Mr. McGullough is back on too, so we could go back to him then as well.
Okay. Well, so we'll go first with Mrs. Holland and Mr. Brown.
Sure. Yep.
Hi, how are you?
Ellen?
Sure. Sorry, I needed to unmute. Yeah, so Lehigh Area High School, as you heard, essentially was an a la carte menu from the beginning of the year. Really no other way to describe it. It still has been. So there's been many flexible options for our students to best meet their learning needs with COVID and the best mitigation that we can possibly do. As Mr. Tack said, on April 6th, students returned to Lehigh Area High School. About 500 of them returned. So that's where we stand at this point. We still have kids in multiple platforms. We have some students who are participating just by zooming in, and they're doing all their work via Canvas, and they're going asynchronously. We have some working synchronously, and then we have some students, about 40, still in our Lava platform. So again, the ability to return to school has been open at any time. The ability to, easily quarantine students. So for example, now that we are back in the building, we are not 6 feet spaced. If a COVID case comes into play, those students who are in close proximity are being asked to quarantine because of their close proximity, and then they are able to transition at home, work virtually, Zoom in, and submit their work. And that's really been a really smooth transition for all of those students without missing any work or any downtime. So that's kind of been the program going on at the high school. We continue to monitor everyone's grades and go from there.
Okay, thank you. Dr. McCullough?
Yes, can you hear me, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. I didn't have the best connection. I just want to echo a couple of things that Mr. Seblin already spoke about, but really the students have been amazing. You can't ask for better students than what we have. And, we try to give them a fun day a week or two ago. They've been absolutely phenomenal, as has our staff. And I do want to give a special thank you to Mr. Ebert. He really has a great mind for scheduling and hall traffic and helping out with the best way to get the most out of the space we have. So I want to publicly thank him for all the work he's done, and we worked together with the staff to do that. We had a number of teachers and staff members volunteer their time over the summer to help come up with the plan. The plan wasn't exactly what we planned, but again, all plans have to change. We have to be flexible. So I just want to thank everyone for that, including the nurse and the entire office staff at the middle school. I couldn't be happier or prouder of the work our staff has done. And the community and the parents have been great about communicating with us. I feel like we really have grown and got to know a lot of the parents in a different way as we work through this and work together to try and do the best we can in this pandemic. And again, thanking the board. I know as a parent myself, I wish my kids were in school every day. I see what it does to kids. And I think that's really the best thing that we could ever have done. And I think I'm really, I'm just amazed that we were able to do that this whole year without much closure at all compared to a lot of other districts. So thank you to the board, and thank you for everyone else that helped support that.
Thank you, Dr. McCullough. If there's any questions from anyone out in the meeting regarding any of the 3 levels at this time, please let us know, or feel free to ask any questions. I don't know if you heard me. If anyone's wanting any questions on any of the levels regarding our approach towards COVID-19, please feel free to ask. And if not, then we'll move on to the second item. Okay. Then the second item we have there, the update of our SEL program initiative at the elementary center. Mrs. Kistler, if you would like to give us an update that. I know you talked about with the survey and so forth.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have too much to share or too much to update tonight. We did create an SEL survey for parents and community members to complete in order to give us some feedback and some opinions regarding some strengths and weaknesses that they currently see within their students, within their children, and within the way that our elementary center in general deals with focusing on social emotional learning. So that is available on the district website currently. It is live. It is on the district website under district news. It's labeled Parent and Community Social and Emotional Learning Survey. And again, if you click on it, it's a simple link to a Google form. And you can go ahead, and there's a video at the beginning that explains the link between SEL and home and school, and a parent's role in social emotional learning and that continuum that can occur. And then it just goes through simple questions as far as your role within the school district, the grade levels of your students, if that's applicable. And again, the areas of strength and weakness that everybody can identify within students at the elementary center, and areas that you think we could continue to work on specifically for students in grade levels. We're then going to take that information that we gather and really use it to drive the formulation of our instruction. So again, as we talked before, we're going to utilize that information and the information that we gathered from teachers in areas that they think that we need to focus on in order to create meaningful lessons for each grade level at the elementary center. So again, some of those could be on, executive functioning as far as organization and time management. Some could be on responsible decision making. Others could be on, creating and maintaining friendship. So we're really just looking forward to having as many people as possible fill out that survey so that we can get a good data set to, again, drive our plans moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or concerns directed towards the SEL program that we're taking a look at? Please feel free at this time. Okay, and I know as we're getting near the end of the year, that is still high on our radar, and so we're taking a look at that. I know we'll have some discussions as the year continues here, and that'll be one of the major focuses and priorities for next school year, as that's being worked on during the summer, and trainings and programs and professional development and everything else, as Mrs. Kistler said, driven through the survey. The next item then, Mr. Seblin, if you would like to give us an update. I know you've been starting with all the kindergarten registration and how that's been going for the district.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tack. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So as of today, our most recent numbers are 167 registered kindergarten students for the upcoming school year. I had reported last meeting to Mrs. Spinelli. She had asked for a number and where we were. I'll tell you, 167 is a bit more than what we're used to at this time. So, that includes 136 registered people online. That also includes 20 pre-K students who are in our current pre-K program who will be turning kindergarten age for next year. And that also includes 11 Head Start children who have not actually, we know that they're coming, but they haven't gone through and registered yet. So we're at 167 as of today. Typically, as I mentioned last month, we're anywhere between 140 and 160. So we're a little bit over what we're used to. Typically over the course of the summer, we'll lose between 10, 15, maybe 20 kids, but then we'll also gain, another 10 or 15 kids or so from other districts. So I will be monitoring the number very closely. I will say that today was day 3 of our kindergarten registration testing process. It's been working outstanding. I have to give compliments to the office staff who's in there working along with the kindergarten teachers. I mean, when the parents are coming into the building, we're allowing two sets of parents coming in at this time at one time, along with the child. We're taking their temperatures as they come in, and they come into the office suite. They're welcomed by our secretaries. Our secretaries get information from the kids. The teachers are taking the students into another room, and they're testing them, they're observing them, they're asking them questions. When the parents are done with the secretaries, they move on to the school nurses, and the school nurses get all their medical information. They talk about any kind of special needs that the kids might have. We also have the school psychologist who could be available if there's any type of early transition programs or supports in place for the kids prior to them coming into kindergarten. And then finally, as the parents are moving through the office suite, they end up with the guidance counselors. And, the guidance counselors give them basic information about what to expect in kindergarten, some things to work on, over the summer over the summer for kindergarten preparedness. But then that also gives the parents the time too to talk to the counselors and share any information if there's any kind of custody issues, or if the kids have any special needs or they have any anxieties. So the feedback that I've received so far, and I try and talk to many of the parents that are coming through the office during the registration and testing, is that the parents really like the personal touch and the time that we're able to give them and provide to them. I can't thank all those people enough, the secretaries and even the substitutes that have been coming in to help, the school nurses and the guidance counselors, like I had mentioned, because I just think that as people are coming in, this may be their first time in our district and their first memory of how it's going to be, and there's some anxiety there for some parents too. But I think that when they're able to sit with somebody and really talk about and ask questions about the next couple months and what the new year is going to look like, they really appreciate that. And I really feel that our staff does an outstanding job with that. And it's just so great. I have to tell you, it's so great to see, kids coming into our school again, parents being able to come into our school again, and just have that level of normalcy with our kindergarten registration and testing. So far so good. We are continuing the remainder of tomorrow, and then next week and next Tuesday night we are offering night registration and testing from 4 to 8 to try and accommodate parents' schedules. But so far so good, Mr. Tack, and I'm happy to report that the process seems to be going very well.
Thank you, Mr. Seblin. And I know it makes a big difference compared to 1 year ago when we were not able to meet with parents and evaluate and, the whole process with the students. And again, like you said, to break a lot of those fears with the students. And then I know the separation anxiety with parents and so forth. So we're thrilled, and we want to thank the community for coming in and doing that. And, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and things are really looking up, and we're really thrilled for that. So we're thrilled and ready for them to come in next year. Any questions or concerns regarding kindergarten registration? Okay, then I'll move on to the last. Anything for the good of the order? Okay, well, again, I would like to thank everyone for being in attendance for this evening's meeting. I hope everyone has a restful and a thoughtful Memorial Day celebration coming up at the end of this month, and to remember all the people that have served our country and continue to do so. And we thank them, and we thank all our frontline people, workers, and everybody as we're getting through this pandemic and seeing light at the end of the tunnel. So again, thank you. Thank you to our board for all their support, for all our staff, and for everyone that has really worked and been flexible in this whole process, because it has been really one trying year. But again, the whole thing in the forefront was our students. And again, like I said, we were one of the very few districts in the entire state to have K-8 open every single day and allow them to come for in-person education. So again, thank you for that. Take care, everyone.
Hey,
have a great evening.
Tim, are you going to have the next one of these meetings in person, or are we going to stick with this virtual stuff?
I'll have to discuss that, Mr. Bradley, and find out, and I'll let everyone know.
Obviously, it has nothing to do with COVID anymore, right?
I'm
19
hopefully.
people in the room.
I'm sorry, what's that?
You have 19 people in the room, or 18 people is basically attending this meeting virtually. I mean, I think we should do both. You should have in-person meeting and live stream it so that anyone that wants to participate can participate from the outside. But I think it's also important to have that, just like kids in classrooms, you should have your government in front of you so you can ask questions and make sure that we hold them accountable.
Okay, and we'll definitely take that into consideration. And that would be for our next one, which is Wednesday, June 2nd at 5:45. So we'll definitely let everyone know ahead of time, and thank you again.